What's up guys, Harry Phillips here. I wanted to do this video today because I've had a bunch of people messaging me on Instagram and Facebook who are musicians or aspiring musicians, beginning musicians, messaging me about what are my tips for them when they start out trying to do music. What advice would I give them? So I've got 5 tips for you if you're a starting out musician, somebody who just doesn't really know what to do to get started. Hopefully this is going to give you some guidance. Okay, so tip number 1, the first thing that I would say to you is you need to find a direction that you want to take your music, your act into, because there can be death by too much choice, right? You can be paralyzed by all of the options that you have for things that you want to do with your music, for how you want to sound, and what you really need to do is you need to pick a direction and stick with it, because that's going to inform every other decision that you make. And you can change it later for sure, but you just need something to get you started for now. So my advice here is to look at 1 or 2 of your favorite artists and then pick 1 or 2 tops, the things that they do, and copy those. I'll give you an example. So a lot of people really love Matt Corby, who's an Australian musician. He has an amazing singing voice. And so if you really are a huge admirer of Matt Corby, maybe you say, I want to copy his singing, right? He's also a very good piano player. He's also a good guitarist, and he does like looping on stage and things like that. But if you're a starting out musician, just try and copy his singing. So that informs all of your other decisions, right? So for you then, the next step that you would do is probably book in singing lessons. If you're learning cover songs or you're trying to write your own songs, you would want to go towards things that are going to show off your singing prowess, as opposed to a song which is easy to sing but appeals to people in a different way. So you can see how choosing an artist and just picking one thing that you admire about them is going to give you direction for the rest of everything that you're going to do. Okay, so my tip number 2, just get started. This is probably the biggest thing that I see holding back everybody who asks me these questions, is that they kind of want to get into it, but they don't know how to start, so they don't start. But the truth is that anything that you do to move your career forward when you're beginning is the correct decision. Your biggest problem for a long time is going to be getting up enough skills to be able to move on to be a professional musician. And the other big problem that you're going to have is getting anybody at all to pay any meaningful attention to you. So you don't have to worry about going out there and making a fool of yourself and everybody remembering it forever, because trust me, the amount of mistakes I have made and all of your favorite musicians have made when they were starting out, and nobody remembers because it's not important. So just get started. It's that easy. So go out and busk is a great way to do it. Go to open mic nights. You can be as bad as you want when you're busking or you're at an open mic night, because everybody's getting a free show. And especially with open mic nights, the whole point is that anybody at all can get up and just play some tunes. So you have nothing to lose by going to those. Just learn some songs that you like, play your original song, whatever you want to do, just get started. Because getting started leads you into my 3rd tip. Tip number 3, your network is everything. Okay, so if you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, yeah, I could go get started, I could go to an open mic night, maybe I could bring myself to get on stage, but how do I do anything beyond that? What if I want to get gigs? What if I want to play with a band? What if I want to get a booker? Well, you make those people part of your network. So the way that I've found getting into the music industry is a lot like kind of following a trail of breadcrumbs. You would start, say, going to an open mic night or something like that. You would meet a couple of musicians, and then maybe one of them plays guitar better than you, so then you guys work on a video together. And then you meet a friend of their friend who is another singer, and you guys collaborate together. Through them you hear about a booker, or you hear about a new venue to go try out. And then so you kind of follow your nose to all these different places, and eventually you wind up with all these different people, all these different possibilities coming into your life that you hadn't even considered, just through going out there, getting started, and making a network for yourself. Just like with so many other businesses, sending an email to people, especially a cold email to someone that you don't know, can be a really ineffective and frustrating way to actually get in contact with anyone. So often you will send 3 or 4 emails and people just won't get back to you. But if you know them, you might not even be the most qualified person for a job, but because they know you, they know your face, they know your name, maybe they like you, then you might get opportunities that other people aren't getting just because you've been out there networking. Number 4, decide what kind of gigs you want to do. So a lot of people talk to me about trying to get started as a musician, and the big thing that seems to sort of turn them off is they don't know how to go about getting gigs. And while your network is helpful, and while actually just going out there getting started and doing busking and open mic nights is also helpful, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to transition smoothly into doing, say, cover gigs. But the first question that you need to ask yourself is, do I even want to do cover gigs? Because I did a video last week on the best 5 and worst things about being a cover gig musician. So what this question comes down to is basically 2 things. How am I going to earn money to support my music? And 2, how am I going to get myself out there to my fans? And cover gigs are really good bang for your buck in terms of hours that you work for money that you get, but there's definitely downsides to them as well. And a lot of the musicians that you know who are original artists who you hear on the radio all the time didn't do many cover gigs at the start of their career, so you don't need to be doing cover gigs to be an original artist. But what you do need to decide is what kind of gigs you want to do. So if you want to do cover gigs, you should start getting a set of 48 songs together, because a lot of cover gigs, the longer ones go for about 4 hours, and then you do a set of 45 minutes and then 15 minutes rest, which is 12 songs for 45 minutes times 4, which is 48 songs. If you don't want to do cover gigs, you need to decide, do you want to use a band with your gigs, in which case you need to work your network hard to find the right players to come on board with your band. If you want to do like sort of folky solo original gigs, then you can start aiming towards that as well. But if you're not going to do cover gigs, you also need to factor in that you're going to have to keep a job to support yourself while you're doing this music. There are a lot of original musicians who actually don't do many gigs at all at the start of their career, and the way that they get their followings is they'll post stuff up on YouTube, or they'll post things on SoundCloud or on Spotify, and they'll just consistently release original music. But what's really important with that is that you need a way to consistently put music out there into the world if you're going to do that. Once you can answer those questions, again, maybe model yourself off what your favorite artist did when they were starting out, because their strategy is probably a good way for you to go about it if you're doing a similar kind of music to them. But once you know what kind of gigs you're going to do, how you're going to support yourself, and how you're going to get your music out to your fans regularly, then you can start to actually build some momentum with everything that you're doing. And my 5th tip, number 5, let things happen naturally. I get a lot of questions as well about people saying, how do I get a manager? How do I get a booker? How do I sign with a record label? And my honest answer to that is, don't worry about any of it. If you're starting out as a musician and you're still trying to pick your musical direction, and you're still trying to work out what kind of gigs you want to do, you're still trying to find out, should I use a band? You're still asking all these really basic questions. You don't need to be worrying about any of that at the moment. And manager is probably the most common one that I hear about. The best way for you to find yourself a manager is to be out and about, be doing some exciting things, be learning how to take care of all of this stuff yourself, and then once you get to a certain level, managers will approach you. And the good thing about having people approach you as a musician, as opposed to you going out and begging other people for stuff, is that it puts you, first of all, in a stronger negotiating position. Second, it means that if people are approaching you, you've probably built some momentum, which means that you're going to get a higher caliber of person coming to approach you. If you go out there and you're a beginning artist, to be honest, you are a dime a dozen. There are so many beginning artists out there who still have to learn the ropes, who are still rough diamonds. Doesn't mean you can't be amazing in the future, but for right now, you are very common, which means that anybody who wants to manage you either has a really strong personal connection with you, or maybe they're not that good, to be frank. Because the people who are really, really good at their job want to manage the best artists, want to manage artists who have shown over a long time that they're capable of making something with their careers. What you really want to do is get started, start building your network, and then as these opportunities crop up for you, just let them develop naturally. Just worry about you and getting better as a musician and learning the ropes of the industry. Okay, so those are my 5 tips for anyone who wants to start out as a musician. I hope that they're going to be of some help. You can always feel free to message me about stuff if you want advice, but at the end of the day, what's going to get you further in this business is diligence and patience and networking, making a lot of friends with a lot of people. If you can do those things, then you're going to have a really good time as a musician and say yes to everything. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know what other kind of videos you'd like to see, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.